Well, if you're really so determined to have a fight, then I'll oblige.
Hello everybody listening to this on YouTube. My name is Ben Johnston and I am the host of the Kung Fu Movie Guide podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this conversation from our archive. The conversation you are about to hear was originally released on the 16th of April 2018. You're about to hear me talking to the martial artist, actor and stunt performer Amy Johnston. Amy's film roles include Lady Bloodfight, Female Fight Squad and Accident Man. The Kung Fu Movie Guide podcast has been running since 2016. Over the years, I have spoken to many of the leading lights from the world of martial arts movies. You can listen back to every episode of the podcast for free right now, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. That includes places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many other places. Head to our website, kungfumovieguide.com, for more information about the show, to sign up to our newsletter, find links to donate, and to read the latest reviews and information about martial arts movies. You can contact us via social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can also email me. The email address is hello@kungfumovieguide.com. I will be back at the end of this conversation to sign off properly, but until then, here we go then. This is my conversation with the great Amy Johnston. Were you over in the UK for Accident Man then?
Yeah, I was over there, when was that? Late 2016, I believe.
Sure, yeah.
I loved being there, actually. I was staying in Shoreditch area for a while, and it was actually a cool little spot.
Yeah, it's kind of like the trendy East End of London.
Yeah, some good coffee, good little cafes. Yeah.
That must have been a fun project to work on.
It was a dream because, a lot of my heroes were there and I was able to work with them. And, Scott Adkins, I've been looking up to him for a while because he's, really doing well with the genre that he's in. Same with Michael Jai White and Ray Park's really awesome. And then we had some wonderful actors, Ray Stevenson and David Paymer, Ashley Greene. It was just a fabulous shoot, and I really loved working with the director, Jesse Johnston. Yeah. He's very laid back and easy to work with, and fun and intuitive, and awesome with action, obviously. So it was a blast, and I got to fight Scott, so it didn't get much better for me.
Yeah. So the first, I think that was the first image that came out of that movie, was you in a sort of throwing Scott to the ground in a pretty awesome photo. So your character is Jane the Ripper, which already sounds quite exciting. What's the general vibe? Are you an assassin?
So it's based off a comic book, Accident Man, and my character Jane the Ripper is an assassin and works with the team of assassins, me and Scott and several other very colorful characters. And one way or another, we end up having to go against each other, but I would not tell you the reason why. Sure. but yeah, it's just full of so much fun, and not just great action, but really awesome characters. Just, very, very fun to watch.
So this is working with Tim Mann, the fight choreographer. Has been working a lot with Jesse and Scott for the past few movies. He's got a real great style, hasn't he, to his action choreography, and the way that Scott does things, the way he positions the camera. It's very handheld, it's very close. There's not much room for stunt doubling and that kind of thing. How did you take to that then, that kind of filming?
Yeah, well, first of all, I absolutely loved working with Tim Mann. I think he's incredibly talented, and he designs action not just for what he thinks is cool, but also in addition to what he thinks is best suited for the character and for the actor or actress or martial artist, because a lot of times things are choreographed in a way that don't really fit the body or needs of what's happening in the story. Yeah. And Tim Mann really coordinates and choreographs things in a way that makes sense with everything and flows really, really well. And, Scott and Tim and Jesse really love keeping the camera pretty stationary for most of the time. They don't need to play with special camera tricks and movement in order to make the action look good, because they make sure they hire people who can really, are able to act and as well do the action that they need, which is rare, but it looks great when you get the combo.
Yeah, it does. But does that mean you've just got to be on your A game sort of pretty much, from day one? Is that sort of how that works?
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure. And just working with all of them was a lot of pressure, because I really wanted to make sure that I, made a good impact and that they thought I was worthy of their time. But I feel that on every job, honestly. From the smallest job to the biggest job, I just want to do the best job I can possibly, because I don't want to regret anything, and also I just want to keep working. I love what I do. I
interviewed Scott just as he'd seen the first sort of rough cut of Accident Man, and you can tell he was very, he's very passionate, he's very proud of this movie, because obviously, he's written the thing as well as sort of co-produced it as well. Did you get a sense from him of just sort of, how passionate he was about the project?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Scott, as he says in several interviews, this has been his kind of passion project, and he's always loved the character and the comic book, and you could see his passion. He was filled with so much passion, but he was also, doing so many things, wearing so many hats. So it was really inspiring to watch him do all of that. And I honestly believe this is going to be one of his best films, because I think this character suits him so well. He just fits right in so perfectly.
A lot of buzz around you as well, though, Amy, for this role. It must be quite an exciting thing to be a part of. There's so many great names in this movie, and you're up there front and center as well. You must be pretty excited.
Yes, I'm super excited. Yeah, of course. I can never get too excited, because with this industry, it'll play with your emotions and put you on a roller coaster. So I always try to remain logical and not overly excited, but I'm definitely excited without going crazy. Yes. Yeah. I get that impression from quite a few actors that I speak to who, you're sort of hedging your bets, because I guess once you've done your job, but then, it might not be, a year or so later till you actually see the movie. It's completely out of your hands as well, isn't it? Like what that your performance is actually going to look like. So I guess there's cautious optimism? Is that the best way to put it? Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of, like you're in a relationship 100% with somebody, and you're in love, and then you break it off and don't see that person for a year or something. As soon as I do a job, or as soon as I do an audition, I'm on to the next one, because if I start thinking about the past and thinking about how great things are going to be when the film comes out, then I have these expectations to live up to, and it's hard to reach those full expectations. So I just try to remain optimistic, yes, grateful, and just keep moving forward. I'm definitely more focused on the acting right now. Trying to work smart and not overly hard, because I'm trying to position myself in the right direction without getting stuck, if that makes sense. I love action, but I don't want to do it forever, just because of I've been doing martial arts all my life, and I love it, and it's always going to be a passion. However, there will be an age where I won't be as capable, and that's just me being logical. And so I'm trying to create a path in a way that will prepare me for when that day comes, so I can kind of blend things together a little better and not just be stuck on something that I've been doing. A lot of times, a lot of like athletes, they'll be kind of stuck in that situation where they just focus so much on their athleticism, and then they get to a point where they're like, crap, what do I do now? Okay, maybe some endorsements. I'm trying to blend the acting more now, so that hopefully later on I won't have to hurt my body as much, to be quite frank with you.
Well, Jackie Chan's still out there jumping around.
He's amazing, and I think he's an alien. Yeah, however
he must be.
However, he's broken, so many of his bones, and he's really hurt himself, all in the love of just entertainment. He's incredible, but I'm trying to maintain my body as much as I possibly can while doing as much awesome action as I can while I can. Yeah.
Well, it's that longevity and looking at the long game, isn't it? I mean, if you're in a position now where you're like, well, I want to spend the next however many years working in this industry, then you got to set the groundwork in now, haven't you, really, Amy?
I think so, and I think it's a little different for men. Women a lot of times are on camera because they're pretty, and that will go away. So there's also this gap where you really have to hit certain things, hit certain marks, and do certain things before you shrivel away.
Yes. Well, your body at least. That happens to guys as well, I can assure you.
Yes.
Yeah. But so what are the main barriers to you right now with regards to that? Or are you getting a diverse amount of roles being sent to you, or what's it like at the moment?
At the moment, like you said, it's a lot of action things are coming my way, so some are good, some are not great. But because I am in the action genre, a lot of the times the stories are so focused on the action, and so I'm always looking for more in-depth character work, and that's why I'm actually really loving working with Kelly Madison for The Gate. So we created a short film a while ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I forget, but we've been pitching that around and we're creating that into a film. And I really love working with her because she balances the female character out really nicely with being strong but also feminine at the same time.
Within the last year, we've seen Wonder Woman, Atomic Blonde, The Villainess from South Korea, which was a fantastic film. There's a real good time for female-led action movies at the moment, it seems.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how you've been doing this for about a decade or so now, Amy. So I'm just wondering, is now the time where you've seen, a big resurgence in this?
Yes, I think so, definitely. And maybe it's more because I'm more focused on it now as well. Yeah. But there's definitely a shift. There's definitely a movement, as we've been seeing with females and empowerment. And yes, a lot of great films coming out. So it's a wonderful time to be involved in action. There's so many TV shows and movies. The only problem is it's difficult to be seen as an actor instead of a stunt person when you've done more of that. So that's where my problem comes in, because a lot of these action films and TV shows are basing their stories or casting actors that are known as actors. So that's where my lack of balance comes in, and that's what I'm trying to work on right now is promoting myself as an actor that can do her own action as opposed to a stunt person who also acts.
Yeah, because the danger is being pigeonholed, isn't it, really, I guess? And
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. So, and that happens very often, and I'm very aware of it. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to create my own content at this point now and direct my own things to, express myself as well as create good content that I want to be involved in.
The films you have done, I mean, I could roll off quite a few names of some of the awesome women that you've worked with. Zoe Bell, Female Fight Squad had Courtney Palm in it, Levi Tran, Michelle Gonzalez, Lady Bloodfight, Mai Ling Ong, Jenny Wu, Jen Trantner. There's so many awesome people. What's that community like? It seems like, everyone's in each other's films, everyone's hanging out together. It's a very supportive community. Is it like that? That's what it seems from the outside.
Yes, those are all amazing women that you just talked about. They're all extremely supportive, and we all kind of gather together to help push each other forward. And it's very inspiring to see them do well. And I hope that all women can look at each other like that, because it's so easy to become catty, but everyone's doing their own thing, and if we can help push each other up, that's a plus. I grew up watching Michelle Yeoh, and she just started it all for me, because she, in my mind, was the driving force. This idea of a woman that's can kick butt but also be a woman.
You're from quite a small town in America, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Wyoming, is that right?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. In the middle of nowhere. It was called Gillette, Wyoming.
Gillette, small Wyoming. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Gillette, like the razor blades.
Exactly.
Yeah. What was it like living there and growing up there?
Well, my dad owned a martial arts school, so my brother and I just played in there all the time, where we were running around. There was a lot of land to play on. We lived in the middle of the country for most of the time there, so we would just run around and beat each other up and, jump on the trampoline and, make fun, just have fun with what we have, like dirt and rocks and, kid stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's why martial arts was a huge force in my life, because I grew up just playing in the dojo, and that was my second home, or sometimes even first home,
Your dad is David Johnston. He is a former world kickboxing champion.
Yeah, he was a 5-time world kickboxing champion and martial arts instructor.
Yeah. So I guess for an inspiration growing up, I guess your dad was probably quite a big factor in your life.
Yes, he was definitely a big factor. And he, he brought the martial arts world upon me. And because of that, he also brought a lot of awesome martial arts films to me. And so Bruce Lee was a huge impact on my life, like so many others. And Jackie Chan and Donnie Yen and Jet Li and Michelle Yeoh, and then some other awesome 80s action chicks back in the day as well. And Cynthia Rothrock was pretty awesome too. So I had a lot of role models as far as martial arts action.
Nowadays, we do have Gina Carano, or there's a big movement within the UFC and for female fighters. So, but none of that was sort of kicking off, or it was very much in its infancy back then. Did you have many sort of female role models within the martial arts?
No, not directly. Not surrounding me, because it was a small town, but that's why I looked more to the films. And then when I came out into Los Angeles, I met a ton of really talented female martial artists and was completely blown away, intimidated, and inspired at the same time.
Was there any sort of a prejudice or anything like that towards you growing up, or did you not experience that?
Oh, of course there was. Really? I loved it though. Yeah, it really always fired me up. Like, my dad would have me spar with his fighters that he was training, guys and girls, and grapple. And it just felt so much better, beating your opponent when they didn't expect anything from you, or just thought you were a joke because you were a woman, and I got that a lot. But that really just turned into a challenge to me at some point, and also being the daughter of like a well-known
being the teacher,
martial arts instructor in a small town. It was like, oh, okay, she's the karate girl, karate kid, that kind of. So I got a lot of that.
So that was very much the motivation from an early age then, was that I'm going to dedicate my life to this. I've got to work out how to make money from doing this. Or were there other subjects at high school that you were excelling in, or anything that could have taken you in another direction?
Well, I always wanted to be a photographer, and I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then I wanted to be a photojournalist, and I went through all of the things that a high school girl may go through of trying to figure out her life, but I always kept falling back on what I loved and what I did every day anyways, and that's not to say that it was the easiest thing moving forward, because it wasn't. It felt like if I did not move forward and take advantage of what I've learned, then I will probably not be fulfilled with that part of myself,
Yeah. And just acting in general, was that something that still seemed a bit far removed at that stage, or did that come along later, this sort of love of acting and performing?
Yeah, I started taking classes in high school, and then I took more classes as I came out to Hollywood, as every actor does. And yeah, you know, martial arts was always way more comfortable for me, but, you know, I'm still falling in love learning more and more with acting, and I'm always still learning. And same with martial arts, you know, I'm constantly learning, and I explore new things every time I act, and I train, and you know, it's just a constant movement forward. And backwards sometimes, but that's okay. It's all part of the game.
So what are the classes like? Is it very method? Is there a sort of type of acting that you're learning at the moment?
So I studied Meisner mostly, and then I did method acting as well, just to, you know, kind of get a grasp on everything and find the proper structure for me. Because I think, you know, with everything, everyone has their own ways of doing things. So I think if you educate yourself on various ways, then you can find what's right with you. Just with martial arts as well, you know, it's like, you know, study different things and see what works best for your body. Same with nutrition, same with everything. It's whatever works for you. So I took several different classes, and you know, got a good structure, and once in a while I'll go back to classes, but for the most part, I think for me at least, being on camera and writing my own things, or you know, just working, having experiences, I learn more than being in class. So
you've graduated from high school, and you take this big leap. You go off to Hollywood. Were you? Did you sort of have a plan in mind, or were you just very much, I'll just rock up and just sort of see what happens? Or were your parents just like worried sick, or what was the deal?
A little bit of all of that. I mean, I was naive. I was 18, you know, as most 18-year-olds are. But my plan was to move there with a certain amount of change that I had saved up. And, you know, I rented this little guest house. And my plan was to get a job and also start working as an extra in films, to start learning the process, to take classes, you know, when I had the proper money. And most of that went according to plan. It was very hard for me to get into the industry because I'm extremely shy, and I'm not good at marketing myself. And you know,
it always amazes me that there's so many actors that do say that, or you know, that they are very shy, but you know, you choose an industry where you've got to be up all the time and just full of confidence. But was that not, you weren't like that at that stage?
No, I'm still not like that. Right. I mean, acting for me is a way to express myself. You know, I'm given something to focus on, and then I can channel my energy through that. Like if I have to go out and say, hi, I'm Amy, I'm amazing at this, I'm great at this, I have all the confidence in the world, that would be just a lie, because that's not real life for me.
You were never shy when you were doing your tournaments, or when you were competing and sparring or anything? You never felt shy about doing that at all?
I mean, there's definitely confidence there because I put in the work, you know, and that's all I ever can do, and that's how I get rid of my insecurities for the most part. However, I'm never fully 100% confident. You know, I think that would be a lie. So the best thing I can do, like I said, is just work hard and know that I am doing the best that I can during martial arts performance or something. That's also a way to channel my energy, and it's a certain like character in a way. So it's easier to just be that and focus on that, as opposed to having to like express your real emotions from no direction, I guess. And
I guess you were winning those competitions, and you must have known, I'm really good at this, so I've got this.
That's definitely a confidence boost. You're right.
Yeah. So what I like about this story is that you didn't just sort of wait around when you got to Hollywood. You did start just making your own movies. And I know it's something, you just touched on it earlier, that you're still doing this and you're still, doing your own fight choreography. You're putting teams together. You're working on shorts movies. Do you think that more people should be doing this?
Yes, I definitely think more people should be doing that. I think in whatever you do in the industry, I think you should know other aspects of it. If you're an actor, you should understand the camera because it's going to make you look better. You should understand editing because that'll help you as well. And, vice versa. If you're behind the camera, if you're a director, you should understand different aspects, and they typically do. Technically, emotionally, all the different ranges. And, I think for me, at least, I train really hard, and I have a bunch of ideas in my head, and a lot of times on big jobs or even smaller jobs, I don't get to use all these things that I've been training or thinking about. So with short films or small independent projects with friends or a small group of people, that's really where I get to play and create and have fun. And, not that other jobs aren't fun. It's just, it's again, having more control and being able to do things the way you would like. You
sort of became a bit of an internet sensation. Is that fair to say, when your videos were going out on YouTube? I know that the Amy versus Many, what was the story with that? That's just a pre-viz thing that you were doing, was it? Yeah. So funny. It's so weird because you never know what's gonna be a big hit on the internet. That was so I started working with this team called 1,000 Pounds, and we created a lot of online content and video game related stuff, anime related stuff, because we were all just geeks and we wanted to play. And then we started gaining traction, and the Amy vs. Many was actually a pre-viz that we put together because we were working with a few people. Actually, Stan Lee was involved, and we were creating an idea for a female character who was basically taking out a bunch of people because of this and that, and the concept was just me beating up a bunch of people for that piece. We didn't move forward, unfortunately, in the right direction with everyone that was involved. But it did gain traction on the internet, so that was cool. Over 2 million views at last time I checked. So that's definitely gained traction. Yes. Did you notice the tide slightly shifting then once you'd started doing that? I realized that there was a lot of power in the internet, not that I didn't realize that before. It's just, it just hit me in the face. It's like, Amy, you have a lot of power right here. You can put whatever you want out there, and people can see you. You can show them what you want to. And I actually received a lot of jobs from that video. I was brought in for the audition for Lady Bloodfight from that video. Really? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's creating your own content, isn't it? That's the key. I mean, for everyone, it's different. Some people are really good at marketing themselves, and they're good at networking and going up to people and just befriending them. And me, I just want to work and create. And so that, just working with friends and doing your own thing really makes sense for me. Moving into the stunt work, there's some really big movies on your IMDb page. There's Iron Man 3, there's Captain America, The Winter Soldier. These are huge Hollywood blockbuster movies. Captain America, Winter Soldier, you're stunt doubling Scarlett Johansson. What was that experience like, and just working on such a behemoth production like that? And it's Marvel, it's all these Hollywood A-listers. Was it a strange experience? No, well, that was my first big experience on a full run of a film as a stunt performer and a double, and Heidi Moneymaker was the other stunt double, so we had 2 units, and so I was also working with her and the team. So she's great. Amazing. Yeah. She's absolutely one of the best stunt women, so I learned a lot from her. But that whole experience was awesome. Yeah, it was my first time on a really big budgeted film, and I learned a lot, like I said, and
I didn't get to do as much as I wanted, I would say, because Heidi was the main double, you know, because, you know, hierarchy purposes, and she's incredible. So, but I did gain a lot of education on politics and how everything works. And, you know, those things that you can't learn from going to film school or learn from taking a class. It's really the on-site experience of how people work and how things work that you can only learn from being on set. So I learned a lot.
I mean, just as an insider point of view, as I know you've done, you know, stunt doubling on these big movies, you know, just how much of Scarlett Johansson are we seeing when we see Black Widow doing her thing? Because I'm guessing that, you know, for insurance purposes or for whatever, a lot of these, you know, big actors, they're there for their close-ups and then they do their dialogue scenes. But was she quite hands-on in a lot of the action scenes?
Well, she's amazing, first of all, and she's always very interested in doing as much as she possibly can.
Yeah.
You know, as much as they'll let her.
Yeah.
Because
it's not their choice. It's not their choice ultimately, is it? It's sort of out of their hands as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not, unless you're Tom Cruise or somebody who's known as, you know, an action star who can do their own things. Then you know, they don't want you to get hurt, insurance purposes, and she definitely does as much as she can, but I would say anytime you don't see her face in a scene, then it's, you know, most likely a stunt double.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's there to focus on the acting and the dialogue and whatever movement she needs to get into the character and what looks good. But anything she doesn't have to do physically would, you know, why have her do it?
And to that end, do you feel that the stunt doubles sometimes are a bit underappreciated, do you think?
I mean, that's the job of a stunt performer, though. You know, it's to go in there and to possibly to take the risk of possibly getting hurt, so that your actor does not get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so stunt people don't go in there for appreciation. I don't think that's the job of a stunt performer. I think the job of the stunt performer is to go in and make their actor look as great as they possibly can. However, I do think, you know, with a lot of action films, there's some incredible stunt coordinating and just stunts in general that may not be as appreciated as they should, with, you know, how great these films are based off the action. So I think it's underappreciated, but I don't think that's the purpose.
Your auditions then for Lady Bloodfight off the back of your you know, internet videos. Was it pitched to you as a sort of all-female remake of Bloodsport? That was initially the concept behind it? It
was pitched to me in different ways. You know, there's always a business side of things and there's a creative side of things.
Yeah.
So the business side of things was, yes, it's, you know, a female version of Bloodsport. You know, with the idea of my dad being Van Damme and him, you know, being involved with the Kumite and me going to figure out what happened to him. So it was definitely based off that. And then the director, Chris Nahone, came in and brought in this more spiritual side of things and tried to develop just more character strength and additional interesting pieces, I suppose I could say. Yeah. So, it was definitely based off of a Bloodsport type film. It was actually going to be called Lady Bloodsport at first. And so it ended up being Lady Bloodfight, which is, you know, not the greatest title. And I think the film
that's a great title. I think that's a fantastic title. You do not like it?
It's interesting because at first I hated it, and now I realize why it's marketed like that is because it's an interesting title, and people are like, oh, what is that? And it gets their interest. So, you know, but I do think it's better than the title. I think the film is better than the title. So I think it may be confusing to people.
Female Fight Squad, again, is a less good title, in my opinion.
Yes, I know.
But that's actually much more of a measured, dramatic film than the title would let on. Do you think sometimes these films can be damaged in the way that they're marketed?
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah. They can be damaged from the editing and mainly the marketing, 100%. Yeah, the title was not going to be Female Fight Squad. It was going to be something else that didn't have any of those words.
Yeah.
And that's when I was brought onto it. And then, after marketing got together, they decided that would be the best way forward. I think, because Suicide Squad was popular at the time of the release, they could use the squad to tag those things. And then female fight is always, a popular word to search. Catchy. So, I understand where marketing was coming from, but like you said, it's more of a dramatic film. I really don't fight that much. It's more of, it's more of
absolutely.
A dramatic
It's a measured performance, and for yourself as well. It's quite a challenging role for you because there's so much, there's romance in there. There's the action stuff. It must have been quite a challenge to sort of wear quite a lot of hats for that film.
Yes, that was so exciting to me because, like I said, a lot of action films are not so interesting with the characters, but there was a lot to work with there. And Miguel Ferrer, the director, was just awesome on getting certain emotions out of me and people, and he really knew how to work with actors. So he was just incredible to work with and gave me some really fun pieces. So I was excited about all that.
And Dolph Lundgren was your dad in it. So, you can't get much better than that. Was he, because for a lot of the film, it's one of those things where it's a sort of, I guess you'd say it's an extended cameo probably from Dolph, but you talk to him a lot on the phone, and then you're waiting for that bit where, are you going to be in the same shot at some point? But then you are in the same shot, and then it's great. Was he, what was he like, meeting him, working with him?
He was great. I didn't get to work with him very much more than just a day that we were together. Sure. But, he got to hold the pads for me, and that was cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
He was very easy to work with. So
it seems that both Lady Bloodfight and Female Fight Squads, obviously they've got 2016 release dates, but did Lady Bloodfight come first in your sense of things? So that was your first leading role, was that movie? Yeah,
so Lady Bloodfight was my first leading role. I think that was 2014 when we filmed it. It just took a while to be released.
Yeah, I remember that, and it was like there was teasers for it. There was lots of talk on the internet, and it was like, is this movie ever going to come out? We're going to see this movie. But what's your general feedback on that movie now that it's out, now that you've seen it?
I'm really proud of it, to be honest. It was a very difficult shoot.
You were in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I was in Hong Kong, and we were training very hard. And, there's a lot of different opinions when it comes to an action film like that, where there's, we want some heart in it, but we also want awesome action. And so, there are also a lot of different languages on set. So we had a Hong Kong production team, an American production team, and then the director and DP were
French.
French.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting.
Did that make it tricky when Chris Nohan was giving you direction? I guess from being your first leading role and having to deal with so much more dialogue scenes, and then on the acting side of things. He made Kiss of the Dragon, which is a fantastic Jet Li film. Yeah. Was he a good mentor to you on set?
He was so amazing. He helped me. He would just guided me the entire time. He was definitely my rock through it all. He was very honest with things that I did, and that's what I want. I don't want somebody to sugarcoat things. Yep. He was very honest up front and supportive, as well as always being creative and just like a kid in a candy shop. He loves his job so much. He loves being behind the camera, and that passion spreads onto everyone on set. So there was no difficulty in that at all. He was incredible. It was just a lot of hard work, not very much time, and a lot of some miscommunications, which is very very common. But for me, I was in a different position because a lot of times as the lead, if the film lives or dies. You live or die with it. So
did you genuinely, you didn't think that when you were making it though, did you?
I did, for the most part. I tried to stop thinking about the pressure though, because that's just probably going to get in my way. I was just trying to, focus on what was happening every day and take it day by day and just, enjoy the process and learn as much as I possibly could. But I do know that I was working very hard to do as much as I possibly could to have a good film. And I know everybody worked very hard. Maybe it wasn't so difficult. Maybe it was just that I was the first time in that position and I really cared. So I was very empathetic to everything that was going on. That might just be completely normal and I just saw a different side of things. So for me, it was difficult because I was training harder than I usually do and there was just more on my plate. But I loved it. Yeah. I love challenges, so...
Yeah, and it's difficult to know if in your first starring role, like what the procedure's like. Is this a normal shoot? Is this going well? I can't work it out. Yeah. No, I can understand that. Yeah. And
it's very different than being a stunt performer. They treat you very differently. So it was just a whole different experience.
Yeah. And female fight squad in comparison then, I mean, you weren't in Hong Kong. I guess you were filming closer to home. So was that a good experience?
Yeah, it was definitely a good experience. I love everything that I've done. Everything has its challenges, but female fight squad was nice because it was in town and I loved everyone I was working with. The challenges for that were just more in the character and what she was going through. It was just a different type of challenge for me.
I do want to touch on this because I know it's very much, in the news at the moment, and obviously, everything that was in the press last year and ongoing as well. There's still stuff coming out all about this. And obviously, there are certain allegations that have been put forward for Bay Logan, who was one of the scriptwriters, a producer of Lady Bloodfight as well. The Me Too campaign, the Time's Up campaign as well that's going on with the Golden Globes. You work in Hollywood and you've been working there for 10 years. Is this a watershed moment? Have you noticed things changing over there? Are you going to auditions or meetings and this is being talked about a lot more? Are you noticing just generally there's the culture is shifting a bit over there, Amy? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I would definitely say the culture is shifting. There's a huge movement going forward, and in the past few meetings I've had in the last couple of weeks, people have been talking about these things and being over thoughtful of projects that have anything to do with what's going on right now and just being sensitive to it, which is wonderful. We're thinking about these things, and I think it's a great time and a wonderful movement. So, yes, there's a huge change.
How can it change? You're still going to have the same guys, at the top of these major studios that are making these decisions. I mean, how do you see that actually, that improving?
Well, I think the fact that it's being talked about is the first step. We can't fix anything unless we know it exists. And now we realize it exists. And I think people are realizing that, it's extremely sensitive and you can lose your job from doing these things. As much power as you may have, you're not completely safe because women are coming together. And I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Women are a very powerful force when they come together. And, there's still more stories and allegations being brought up. And, I would love to say that nothing like this is ever going to happen again, but I do realize that a lot of people like to abuse their power, and that's unfortunate. But I think with the awareness right now is the first step, and hopefully people just keep pushing. Yeah.
And I guess, Amy, it comes back to that point of creating your own content, doing your own work, getting people around you that you admire, that supports each other, and try and come up with stuff on your own merit.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, like I was talking about before, the internet is so powerful. And if you want to say something, if you want to create something to inspire a certain crowd, it's all yours. You can create it with with your phone, with a cheap camera. It's yours to control. So I think it's one of the most powerful ways to say something these days. And I think that would be a good way to keep moving forward with this movement, definitely.
Okay, Amy, I will let you go. Thank you so much for talking to me. I should say congratulations as well, because I know you got engaged recently. So
thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Amy Johnston there. Tremendous to speak to Amy. Really enjoyed that. I do hope that you also enjoyed listening to that conversation from our archive. Check out the links in the description of this video to find out more about Amy and also this podcast. And if you do like what you hear, then please do like the show, tell a friend, write a comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to the Kung Fu Movie Guide podcast wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to this conversation, and until we meet again, do take care, and bye for now.